but I think there would be calls for investigations as to why she's doing this. I think some probably would say, maybe one of the more extreme members of the House Freedom Caucus, like Mark Meadow or Jim Jordan, they may go to the extreme and say, okay, I think this lady needs to get impeached. But I think that's probably an interesting analogy right there. But I think that for Trump, he definitely has a much better PR than what Hillary Clinton would have had for that same exact circumstance.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird scenario because as this happens, the president's facing an impeachment probe and all that stuff. So that kind of craziness and that kind of really obstructs from some of the more crazy things that would have happened there. 100+ ISIS fighters going free, juxtaposing that against getting the leader is a tough thing. I mean, personally, I don't really think this moves the needle because, I mean, nothing really does anymore because people are just so put to one side or another. Like, they're not going to move. If they like Trump, then it's very unlikely that they won't. And if they don't like Trump, it's very unlikely that they're going to start liking him again. Everyone pretty much has their opinion on Trump. He's probably one of the most definitely the most polarizing person in America. You either really like him or you really do not. I think it's just that simple. What do you think? So do you think this will move the needle for him at all in polling or not make too much of a dent once this week starts again?
I think it will. I think it will move him a little bit up for now.
For
I think
now,
we also
yeah.
look in the future. Yeah, for now. I think we also got to look in the future, though. I think he might screw himself over, though, with something. I guarantee you by the end of this week. We got to. I mean, this guy has the mouth like the size of the freaking moon. I mean, I swear, this guy cannot shut up sometimes, and he just screws himself over. And I think that for maybe a couple days, it will be good, in my opinion. But
I feel
besides
like
that, probably not.
I feel like really if winning the Mueller report doesn't get you or just looking very, very good coming out of the Mueller report doesn't get you somewhere, then I really highly doubt that nothing will, because it's not like you're going to get much of a better boost than that. And it didn't really get him anywhere. That's really the crazy thing about it. So, yeah, that is the big story today. But just in, to do with some political news, freshman representative Katie Hill has resigned recently. So she just resigned today. She doesn't seem too sorry about it, though. She's resigning amid an ethics investigation over an allegedly inappropriate relationship with a staffer. Letter posted on Twitter. In the letter posted on Twitter, the Southern California Democrat attributed the resignation to an abusive, estranged husband and hateful political operatives who said she was driving a smear campaign built around cyber exploitation. So I will get you the letter in a second, but first, James, what is your reaction to this news? And what significance do you think it has for the Democrats?
Well, regarding Katie Hill, I mean, besides the photos, but I think that was really most alarming for her was the lot of the behavior that she was having with uh, her staffers. So she had an interesting relationship with not only one but two of them, and she originally had gone out and apologized for the first one because that one was already a long time ago. Actually, that was involved in the news quite a while. I think it was in maybe in May, if I'm correct. It was a while ago though. I do remember that. And then I see in the news this week that there was a second one they were talking about, and then the photos were released a day later. Not of that, but like the leaked photos. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at the leaked photos, but I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really care about the photos. I don't think she should be, what do you call it, involved with the photos. I don't really care about the photos because she's not the one who did it. I mean, someone leaked them, and I think the person who leaked them should be in trouble for it. But what I didn't like about her is that not only once, I mean, look, for once I can give her a break. But I mean, she did this twice with a staffer, and I think that, I mean, it's not like I'm holding other people to a higher standard. I think anyone who does this, which there are multiple people in Congress who have done similar things, may even be people who have done worse things. But I
Yeah.
think that
I mean,
I hold
you
everyone
could
to the same
argue our
standard.
president has done far worse than Katie Hill has ever done in at least two consensual relationships. That I think in both cases, I mean, she's only admitted to one relationship, the one that she had, I believe, with another woman, her husband and herself, polyamorous relationship there. That was the only one that she admitted to, which personally I'm inclined to believe her, because if she was being dishonest, she would have both just denied both of them. That's how kind of I read it. But yeah, the point is just I'm saying is you could make an argument. I think that's an argument that I'd be inclined to make, is that the president of the United States has been accused of, I think, credibly, of far, far worse when it comes to sexual misdeeds and things that are actually punishable under law.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Democrats, does have any problem with them? Not necessarily. I don't really think it's that major. And the reason why I say it's not major is because, I mean, not many people really know who she is. I mean, so I don't really think it's gonna be that major. But I mean, what would have made it major is if she was forcibly making people be in a relationship, because then they will be looking at Katie Hill as someone who is using her office, which is a pretty high position. It's not as high as like president, for example. Being a representative is a high position job. Using her
Yeah.
position as a way to have more power over people. If that circumstance happened, that might have had an effect on some Democrats, at least the ones who were supporting her. But I don't think this is going to have a major effect because it's not that major. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a bump in the road, might I say, but it's not going to be a ginormous tsunami wave.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what they can do with that district down the road. But first, I do want to get to Katie Hill's letter here, uh, writing, quote, "It's with a broken heart that today I announce my resignation from Congress. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I believe it's the best thing for my constituents, my community, and our country. This is what needs to happen so that the good people who supported me will no longer be subjected to the pain inflicted by my abusive husband and the brutality of hateful political operatives who seem too happily provide a platform to a monster who is driving a smear campaign built around cyber exploitation. Having private photos of personal moments weaponized against me has been an appalling invasion of my privacy." It's also illegal. I think it's really revenge porn there, if you're familiar with that, for our listeners. And we are currently pursuing all of our available legal options. However, I know that as long as I'm in Congress, we'll live fearful of what might come next and how much it will hurt. That's a feeling I know all too well. It's the feeling I decided to leave when I left my marriage, and one I will not tolerate being forced upon others. I can no longer allow my community, family, friends, staff, and supporters, and especially the children who looked up to me as a role model, to suffer this unprecedented brand of cruelty. For the mistakes made along the way and people who have been hurt, I am so sorry. I am learning. I'm not a perfect person, never pretended to be. It's one of the things that made my race so special. I hope it showed others that they do belong, that their voice does matter, and they do have a place in this country. It's something that I believe with all my heart. Those of you who know me personally know that I'm a fighter, and it's thanks to countless other fighters who supported me that we were able to stand up for the ideals we believe in. Now my fight is going to be to defeat this type of exploitation that so many women are victims to, and which will keep countless women and girls from running for office or entering public life. Thank you for allowing me to turn my focus to this particular battle right now. And I know I stand with you as we continue to fight for the many important issues that brought me to Congress in the first place. I love this country. I love all of you, and I thank you for allowing the great honor of serving you. So yeah, that's definitely a sticky situation that she got herself in, and it seems pretty crazy that she had to resign for this. I think without even waiting for the results of the ethics situation, maybe she just wanted to go through it in the first place. And just kind of settle the score and just keep things kind of out of the public light, which I definitely totally understand. But it seems like she had to, definitely was really in a tough situation. I personally had no personal allegiance, let's just say, to Katie Hill, but I think it's kind of sad to see her go for these purposes.
Yeah. I mean, I think I do feel a little bad for what happened here, but I do feel that she's doing it what her heart wants. due respect to resignation, I think that was probably the best thing for her to do. Um, let's get this thing moving. I would probably say let her focus on this instead of having to focus on the congressional job and also focusing on her, this whole situation. I think that was respectful of her to resign in a good way, not in a bad way. I'm not saying that she's bowing down to her husband who released all these photos, but I think that was correct for her to resign.
Yeah, so it is a big, big. It's definitely some pretty big news for the Democrats, and kind of does shake the politics wheel here. And it seems like this kind of thing only applies to certain people. Like, for example, an interesting point is Duncan Hunter had affairs with staffers on the taxpayer dime and does not even resign after an indictment. Katie Hill obviously had to resign, not even after the completion of an investigation. It definitely seems like, I mean, probably not the move I would have done, but if you're being attacked, like your life is under full scale attack like this, I definitely see where you're coming from on this. So that is for sure. All right. How about we move on now to an interesting situation by Libby Watson. She is a writer now for the New Republic, obviously former writer for Splinter that we've referenced for many times on this show. One of my personal favorite writers to read out there on the web. And she really lays it out here with this. Earlier this month, private equity killed another news outlet, Splinter, a news and politics website where I previously worked, was shut down by its owners. 7 people lost their jobs, a comparatively small calling compared to the hardships some media outlets have recently endured. Nevertheless, Splinter's fate points in the direction of bloodlettings to come. And just to give you a brief little history of this, long and tortuous road, she says, that led to Splinter ending up in the hands of private equity masters, beginning with the Gawker Media, was hounded into bankruptcy by Peter Thiel, who backstopped Hogan's defamation case against the site. To deny the opportunity to appeal the judgment against them, the media properties that resided under Gawker's banner were rebranded as the Gizmodo Media Group and sold to Univision. It was an ill-fitting arrangement. Univision was a normal, cautious media company that focused mostly on the Spanish-language TV network that they run, and GMG was a smallish network of irreverent websites that regularly published the musings of a dog and Ashley Feinberg. Those are 2 writers there, prominent writers, former writers there, and obviously one of them was a dog, but the unwieldy partnership was exacerbated by corporate mismanagement, which saddled the profitable GMG with debts from Univision's disastrous experiment in millennial-focused content called Fusion. Fusion's website was rebranded and relaunched as Splinter in the summer of 2017. GMG was eventually sold to the private equity firm Great Hill Partners, who renamed the company GO Media. And that's the thing. GMG, Gizmodo Media Group, whatever the case may be, that was all. That was a profitable operation, and the fact is that there is money in this situation, and there is money in the online media, but there is a real threat, and that is a lot of these private equity companies that really see an opportunity to make profit. Like, they can really go for it, and that's something that I think is a real threat to journalism here, and it's something that we see happen time and time again, and it feels like the kind of thing that we won't know until it's far too late.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem with the big media taking over the small, little companies is that they don't really have that vibe anymore with the small writers, the ones who are really devoted to their time to writing for a certain section or even for local news for that perspective. And, I never read Splinter. I saw that you were mentioning Splinter a while ago, though. I believe that's like a left-wing journalism newspaper, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll give you a point, though. There really aren't that many left-wing journals out there or online
No.
websites out there. Yeah, there really aren't that many. And the problem with a lot of these big ones nowadays is that they try to